Hi, everyone. I just want to welcome everyone to Mr. and Mrs. X. This is a show where we talk about the current topics. This is the first show. We want to welcome everyone to the first show. And I just want to let everyone know that this new show is going to be airing every Saturday, once a week. So you can join us on Rumble Premium. And it will also be on the secure server. For those people that are members of the secure server, you'll also see the show on there. And you can get it on Rumble Premium. I am Mr. X, and I have Mrs. X with me.
Hi, everyone.
So the first topic, we're going to be talking about the shooter. And I mentioned this on my report, X22 report. And the shooter is very, very interesting because this guy, he drove from Vegas with his weapons all the way to New York City with a note in his pocket. And he went to the wrong floor. And, of course, the cover story is that he was very upset with the NFL, but he went to the wrong floor and shot up certain individuals on that floor that happened to work for Blackstone.
I mean, I have a lot of issues with this story because I feel like it's also so similar to every other shooter story. I mean, the fact that he got in his car, and it's not a quick ride. You drive all the way from Vegas, all the way to New York City, and by the way, walks down the streets of New York City in broad daylight. It still was light out. It's summertime with a semi-automatic weapon, gets in bulletproof vest, gets off on the wrong floor when he's so upset with the NFL. And that didn't even make sense too. How did he get up in the elevator? Like, how did he even get up there?
Well, what's very interesting is that when he walked into the building, the security guards, first of all, they had no weapons whatsoever. And there is a security team monitoring the cameras, and they do have protocols in place to shut everything down. And yes, it might have happened very, very quickly, but the individuals that have been watching the incident, they should have hit the button that actually shut down the elevators. I do believe they bring them down to the first floor and you can't really operate them. Or even if the guy got onto the elevators and he started to go up because he had to go to he went to the 33rd floor, they could have shut it down and they could have brought the elevators back down because we don't know how many stops the elevator was going to make on the way up because when did people were calling the elevator?
Right. Well, and also, I mean, don't they have these kind of protocols in place for these scenarios? Like they have all these like safety standards and for this scenario, I mean, you have training for these things. I mean, that's what security's for. Otherwise, what's the point of all of this? I don't, and then the fact that, okay, so he has a bulletproof vest. So obviously he was protecting himself, but then ended up killing himself. Like, why is it that they're always kill themselves or they're shot and then you can never question them or ask? It's just too many questions, too many similarities, and it's just something doesn't add up.
Well, I think the reason why they always end up killing themselves is because I believe that they are controlled by certain entities that actually take the mentally ill or people that are on drugs, because it's a lot easier to control those people that are on medication and have them do things that they normally wouldn't do. And this is why a lot of these people that take the SSRIs, they hear voices in their heads. And I do believe that this is part of the intelligence agencies, or those people that used to be part of the intelligence agencies. They actually use these people for certain agendas. And then, of course, what happens after that is the fake news plays it up. They use it for gun control. They use it for other agendas. And again, they thought this guy was a white person. I mean, that's what CNN reported. They said possibly white. Of course, everyone saw the picture and said, how did the news reporter even think that this person was actually white? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Not at all.
No. And normally when it's not a white person, they just drop the story. But this one they kept going with, which is very, very interesting, which I do believe the reason why they kept going with it is they try to use it as a distraction from what was coming out, like the Russian collusion.
With Russia. Yeah. For sure. Well, and I feel like that's typical of these shooter stories, that it's always the same MO. And also, did you say the building's BlackRock, right? And isn't BlackRock that whole, right?
Investment, they invest in real estate. They are involved in many, many different things.
Yeah. It's just interesting. I feel like if you connect the dots, it just makes sense that, you know, this was definitely a distraction. It was just another one of these stories. And I feel like they're all so similar because I feel like even in this day and age, who writes a note and carries it in their pocket? I mean, It just really makes no sense. And the bottom line is it's unfortunate how people get used. It's unfortunate that a police officer passed, that, that people were shot in this. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. And it's very scary that you can't feel safe in your city. It's a scary thing.
Well, can you imagine if the people in the lobby, even the security guards, can you imagine if they had weapons? I think this guy would have been stopped at that point. Yes, there might have been a shootout. People might have been injured, but you wouldn't have all the people, killed the way we see it today. I mean, look what happened in Michigan with that individual that had a concealed carry that actually pulled it out and stopped the guy from stabbing people. Now, what would happen if he didn't have the concealed carry?
You're right. I mean, and honestly, he's a veteran also, which is amazing. It's amazing part of the story. And what was neat about that, in the sense that what I like to see was people coming together, like supporting him, the veteran who was trying to take down the guy who went on the stabbing spree, and that there were other men who joined him to kind of gang up on this guy and say, no, you're not walking around the Walmart stabbing people, until law enforcement got there. But it was scary. And I think you're right. It would have been much, much worse if these gentlemen did not take matters into their hands and say, no, you're not going to hurt people. This is not okay. This is not okay in our community. It's not acceptable. And I think that's what keeps happening, is that the boundaries keep getting pushed and people are getting to the point where it's like, enough is enough. I want my community back. I want to feel safe going out shopping with my family at the Walmart on the weekend. Like, what is, it's crazy to think that you're not safe in your own backyard,
Yeah, and also this is what real men do. They protect the community. And I think this is what the establishment, for a very long time, they did not want people to know what real men actually are. They don't want anyone to know what real women actually are. And I think this is why they started the movement of saying, hey, here's a guy, he could dress up as a woman and pretend to be a woman. And then they tried to pass this off as this is normal. Right. And this is all women should just, bow to this. And a lot of these individuals, they don't act like women. No. I mean, it's a man dressed with a wig. They put on makeup and they think they're a woman. They have no idea what a woman actually is.
Well, it feels like a parody to me. It feels like you're being made fun of when I see some of this that's going on. I mean, look, whatever you want to do in your own life, have at it. I don't really care if you want to dress like a woman and whatever. But then when it started to become to the point where you're coming into women's spaces and women's bathrooms and women's sports and women's competitions and basically trying to make it like women should just be okay with this and bow down to it, and not, you work so hard to say be in your sport, like you look at Riley Gaines, for example, and I have to say I give her a lot of credit because she was one of the first people that really stood up. I feel like, where were the other women? Or the other women in sports in particular? You work so hard to get where you are, and then to have a guy come and say that he's now a woman because he couldn't cut it in men's swimming, and then beat her, and actually not by much, which was impressive on her part. But at the same time, that she had to feel like all your hard work, all your practices, all your sacrifices you make to be competing at that level, and then to have a guy come in and swoop that away from you. And I think it's nice to see that. I think she was kind of the spearhead of that, but to see other women now, like, they're like, nope, I'm not competing in that. I'm not doing that. And it's nice to have a president that is behind women in sports and is saying, no, this is not okay. And if the universities aren't going along with it, there's going to be consequences for that. And I think that's just been a part of this whole thing with weakening our population, weakening our men, weakening our women, so you don't say anything and you just kind of go along with it. And I think that's a serious problem that has been happening over the past few years. It's like, no, you're not allowed to speak up. And if you do, you're going to get doxxed. You're going to get, you're going to get banned. You're going to,
And I find it very interesting that, during Trump's first presidency, you had all the women out there, protesting in front of the Capitol,
yes,
the White House.
In vagina costumes,
yes,
honestly.
That is true. And when this happened with men going on to women's sports, where were all those women? Where were the women?
Well, what do you mean? They were asking certain individuals to define what a woman is. I mean, you had a judge sitting there, and they could not tell you what a woman is. That blew my mind. That they're like, all of a sudden you don't know what a woman is, and I don't understand that at all. I don't understand how we got so off the rails. Which actually, I guess, can kind of bring us to our next topic, because I feel like everyone's talking about it. So how do we not talk about it? But the jeans ad with Sydney Sweeney. So let's go there with American Eagle. What are I think the reaction to it has been kind of mind blowing. And
well, what do you think? What do you think is mind blowing about it?
I think it's amazing. I think it's great to see us going back to celebrating women, what makes us women, being feminine, looking good in your jeans. I love the play on words. I think people are reading way too much into it with this whole Nazism. I think that's a stretch. And I think when I read articles about it and that they're interviewing college professors about it, well, this rhetoric, and I'm like, well, first of all, half these professors, they're all of that woke mindset and whatever, that's where they're at. But I think it's just a jeans ad. And I think that we've gotten away from some of these ads that I thought were off-putting for me. And I feel like now we're celebrating women again. And I think that it's a good thing. And I think this cancel culture that was like, oh, they're outraged. I think it's ridiculous. I think there's nothing wrong. She's a beautiful young woman. She's promoting jeans, which are classic Americana. She's like, the ads are incredible. And I think that it's kind of, I find it amusing actually that people are outraged by it, because I'm like, are you kidding me right now? We actually finally are celebrating what it means to be a woman again, an American woman in her jeans, rocking that, and and celebrating her jeans. And I it's just, I think it's amusing that everyone's outraged, like that people are outraged by it. Not everyone.
Well, I mean, who are the people that are outraged? The far left people?
Yes,
the people
exactly.
with the nose rings, purple hair,
Yes.
the Karens.
Out of shape, like that they're
Yes.
jealous. They're like, oh wow, she actually has real boobs. It's not from taking hormones or whatever else you're doing. I mean, if that's what you want to do, but I think that they tried to make it that was the whole population, and that's not the whole population.
No, it's a very small part of the population. But I think what's happening right now is that these people, you have to remember, go back in time when Obama first came into office. This is when the big push actually really happened, where they were shifting everything and they were bringing in the LGBTQ, they were bringing in the trans movement, and they were empowering them. Now, again, these individuals, they're also involved in Antifa. Andy No reports on this many, many times on X and on many other places. And he's a gay man. And he says a lot of the people within Antifa are trans people, and he calls them trans-tifa. And these people, they have anger issues. And I think what they did was to empower them. They kept telling them that you're a protected class, that you're a group of people that we will make sure that nothing happens to you. And they started to put them in all different positions. They put them in government. Look what happened when Biden was in office. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at his administration. They put him in government. They put him in a lot of the corporations because of DEI. They brought these people in. They started to work on marketing campaigns.
Right.
And I think this is when you start to see everything change, because then you started to see like Dylan Mulvaney, who was doing Bud Light. And of course, that was a complete and utter flop. And all of a sudden, sales went down. The marketing person was removed because it completely failed. So I think these people, they thought they were protected, and they thought, oh, look, we're now calling the shots. Remember, these people, they're losers. A lot of them are losers. We're calling the shots. We're protected. And they even wanted laws where they would say, listen, if you don't use my pronouns, you could be arrested, you could be fired, you can.
Right.
And they thought they had power.
That's what I was going to say. Like you were in like a whole heap of trouble if you misgendered somebody or, used the wrong pronoun. I mean, people were making viral videos if they were at a restaurant and a waiter or waitress called them sir or ma'am, and it was not the one that they wanted. And it was like all hell broke loose. And, and it just was like, what is happening right now? The whole world just started to not make any sense, And I think I love this ad because I think it's making the world make sense again. Like,
Well, I think this is why they're so angry, because now with this ad, and you're going to see more ads like this, when the companies now are doing really well and the sales are taking off, they're losing their grip.
Yeah.
And they're very, very angry about this.
Well, the jeans are sold out.
Yeah, well, there you go. And what's funny is, we were discussing this before, is that Sydney Sweeney, she's not the only person with, blue eyes, blonde hair that pushed jeans. I mean, we've had this in the past.
Yeah. I mean, Brooke Shields was Calvin Klein years ago. Gorgeous, stunning, beautiful, long hair. I don't think her eyes are blue, but it doesn't matter. But she looked stunning. Matter. She was in shape. And then you also had, and Anna Nicole Smith was for Guess for many years. Yes, she was a curvier model, but also blonde hair, gorgeous. You had Marky Mark, the epitome of health, when he did his Calvin Klein ad years and years ago. And I think what happens, we just got so far away from it. Like, we all forgot that, Cindy Crawford, she was also when she did her Pepsi commercial years ago. And that actually was so iconic. They just remade it recently, I think for the Super Bowl, I want to say, maybe the last Super Bowl. So. And, and I think we all just kind of forgot, there's nothing wrong with that. If you look back on commercials when we were kids, it was very different than it is now, and I think everyone kind of forgot. And we got complacent as a society. I mean, you and I have talked about this many times, is that part of what we're going through, these growing pains, and with President Trump getting us back on track and steering the ship in that direction, is that we all got complacent at the wheel, and we didn't realize that our constitutional rights were being manipulated and whatever, and and so forth. And here we are. And, this is the backlash of that. And I think we're coming out of that time. And I think that's why President Trump keeps referring to a golden age that we're headed into, because I think he's reminding us about our Constitution. He's reminding us what makes America great. He's reminding us what brought us to where we are, to be the greatest country in the world, and I think that's an amazing thing. And I like seeing us headed in this direction. It's a wonderful thing. Well,
when you say we were getting complacent, I mean, it wasn't just that, everyone was going about their business and they were distracted by many things, but it also has to do with food. It also has to do with exercise. It also has to do with education.
Yeah.
I think the deep, I call them the deep state players. I think everyone knows this.
Yes.
I think what was happening is they were changing the entire culture and the way we learn, and trying to bring up each generation in a way with what they wanted. So they would educate the young children, and they say, you know what? You don't need gym. You don't need to, exercise. You don't need any of this. And we're going to teach you not about the Constitution. We're going to teach you about wokeism. We're going to teach you about all these different things. And it started in elementary school.
Yep.
It went to middle school, to high school, and then the colleges. They're just a complete and utter mess, because, again, this is like the topping on the cake right there, where the brainwashing is complete. And this is why Trump is now shutting down the wokeism in all the colleges.
You have to.
And like you said, Trump now is reversing all of this and bringing us back to our roots, which I think is very, very important.
Well, when you were just saying about the fitness thing, it brings up another thing I wanted to talk about, which is he's bringing back the presidential fitness test. And I think this is a huge one on so many levels, because I think you're completely right in what we're saying. It wasn't just that the deep state players infiltrated, businesses and corporations in this. It's been on every level of our society for many years. It doesn't just happen overnight. It didn't just happen when Obama came on the scene. I mean, yes, he's a big part of the problem, as we know, but this has been going on for quite some time, because they wanted to make this cultural shift for us and kind of make us forget what it is to be an American. And I think the presidential fitness test is so important because, you and I have talked about this. We moved to Florida when our children were in elementary school, and, they had gym class. But once they got to middle school, you didn't have to take gym class anymore. Now, meanwhile, I'm from New York originally. You took gym until you were a senior in high school. I mean, you might have dreaded it. I mean, no one wanted to take some of the gym classes, but we all did it. We all had to do it. And it was part of your graduation requirement. And so to me, actually, when I had my own children, it bothered me that the kids didn't have gym class, because then it wasn't prioritizing that for them. It was like all academics, all this, and then you didn't have any downtime. And I think it also, it was a detriment to our children if you weren't being an active person. Because I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but the presidential fitness fitness test. I mean, I dreaded it, but looking back, it was probably a good thing. Like you had to do, well, they call them squat thrusts, but they're really burpees. But now we call them burpees. But you had to do like 50 of them in a certain amount of time. You had to write it down on the card. It was so stressful. You had to do like the sit-ups where your partner were holding your feet, and it was super intense. And you had to make that work, and it was a part of your gym class. And I think that it's so important right now that President Trump is bringing this back. When you look back at the roots of like RFK, when he originally brought the presidential fitness test in, and you see President Trump is bringing in all of these athletes that are going to be a part of it. And I love that they didn't just say about the physical part, they're talking about the nutrition, because this is another point where I feel like they've tried to weaken us as a population, as a society with the food. I mean, you and I can go on for days about the food and how they've corrupted our food and what our children consider food, or, and we got away from real food. And I think that, what President Trump is doing on every level it's all good things for our children and our grandchildren and beyond.
But I think the way President Trump is handling it right now, he's a marketer, he's a promoter, and he's not just saying, hey, you know what, let's do a couple of sit-ups, let's do a couple push-ups. What is he actually doing now? He's working with certain individuals.
Yes, he's working with golfers. I don't know all of their names. I don't follow golf like President Trump, obviously, but he's working with I think the CEO of the WWE, the CEO of that, but I forgot what his name is. Triple H, maybe? I don't know. Forgive me if I got that wrong, but I think it's great that you're getting all different athletes from all different sports, and also how they're all also talking about the nutrition, because they know as an athlete, it's not just about the physical, it's also about fueling your body so that you feel good and you want to do things. And not that we all have to be a professional athlete, but just to take care of your body. Like, I think we've gotten so far away from that, as a culture. Like, you look around and, America's in trouble. Like, if we don't follow in this, like it was not looking good. Like, people have trouble, like, we just traveled recently. People have trouble pulling their luggage through the airport, and that shouldn't be. We should do better for ourselves, And I think it's great that he's spearheading this movement, and he's getting so many athletes involved, and it's making it more high profile. Like you said, he's a brilliant marketer. And I think that's going to be important for kids to see, like, like your role models, like this is what they do. There's discipline involved with being an athlete at that level. And, and maybe it'll inspire some kids too. Like, you don't just have to go to college. Maybe you want to be a professional athlete, maybe you want to pursue different things. I don't think that it all has to be just like, oh, I go to high school, then I go to college, and then I get a job in a cubicle. Like, I think we all need to dream a bigger dream sometimes. And I think President Trump has us on that path, and I'm happy to see it.
Well, he does have to reverse everything that they did, and he's doing it in a very, very short period of time.
Yes.
I mean, they've taken many, many years to brainwash and to, reverse what America once was, and now he's reversing it very, very quickly. And those people that were involved in all of this, they just weren't involved in brainwashing the children. They were also involved in destroying America.
Yeah.
And now he's basically calling them out on this and educating the public. Of course, a lot of the Ds who watch CNN, MSDNC, and, New York, they read the New York Times. They're not going to see a lot of this because, again, the fake news, they really can't report on the treasonous acts of Obama, Clinton, and the rest, because if they do report on that, then what are they going to say? Oh, we knew about it? They were involved in it. So to basically take back this country, I think we need to have accountability, and we need to show the American people who's responsible for all of this and who's responsible in destroying this country. And I think it's going to take a little while for the Ds to come on board. I think more and more every day are coming on board, but this is a slow process of educating the people of what actually happened in the past.
Well, I think it's very hard for people, and I'm going to be honest, because I know what my own journey has been with all of this and realizing things. I think it's very hard to wrap your brain around the fact that you realize you've been lied to your whole life, or what you thought to be true is actually not true, or to understand when you really look at these people and the things that they've done is that It's not just like one organization. It's not just like, oh, it was the DOJ. Oh, it was the FBI. Oh, it was the CIA. Like, oh, conspiracy theory and this, that. It's that you're realizing, especially with everything that's coming out in the last few weeks with the Russia, and all of it, that you realize that there was infiltration, not in just one government organization, in several, and a lot of people were involved in it. A lot of people were part of the cover-up. There's still people you see, if you follow James O'Keefe's work, you see his undercover dates that, these reporters go on with these guys and girls that are like, oh yeah, I know all about that. And they're working to like, reverse things or to kind of mess up things that the president has in place or he's working on. And I feel like the infiltration's still there. And I think we're still cleaning up the mess, but I think it's very hard for people to understand that level of evil, that level of deceit, that level of, my own government couldn't be betraying me. Like, I mean, I can't believe how many people were mad about Elon auditing the government. Like, you don't want to know where your taxpayer dollars are going. I don't understand why. I mean, when you have a household budget, you want to know where your money is going. Okay, this money goes to rent. This money goes to my mortgage. This money goes to insurance, my car payment, my food money. Why wouldn't you want to know where all your taxes are going and be accountable for that? And you realize that there's been a lot of mess there. There's been a lot of inconsistencies. There's been a lot of, can we explain this? And when you listen and watch these people talking about it, you realize that it's on every level. And I think that's very hard for people to wrap their brain around, because people don't want to believe that their own government has been deceiving them. And they don't want to realize that their whole way of thinking is challenge them, because it's like, wait, everything I knew to be true is a lie. And I think that's a hard one for people.
Why do you think it's, why do you think it's hard for people to wrap their brains around that maybe everything that they've known is not real?
Because I think people want to be right. I think their ego, that they're like, no, I know what I know. I mean, if you ever watch when people argue with a liberal or a Democrat even, and you see people like, you're at these protests, or you're at like the No Kings thing, they're like, well, why are you protesting? And then you call them on a fact that President Trump's, I'm trying to think of a concrete example, but when you ask them or you challenge or you try to have a debate with them, you ask them a question about why they feel this way or why whatever. Well, what about this? And they just stomp off and walk away. So when did debate go out the window? Like, I remember growing up, like, you would have debates. You would say, I might not agree with you, but let's talk about it. Let's argue about it. Let me try to see it from your point of view. They don't even do that. They scream, yell, shout in your face, curse. I've seen some of them spit on people. It's disgusting. And because they just want to be right so badly and so like entitled to and then they just storm off. And they're just closed off to the conversation. Like, they're not even open to having some kind of a discussion. I mean, we've seen in our own life, we have people that have cut us out of their lives because they're like, I just can't, because you think too differently than me. And I just feel like that's a shift I feel like I've seen that wasn't there when I was younger. Like, I don't remember that when I was younger, even in high school, when you would have like debate club, or you would, or even when I was in my early 20s, I don't remember even having political conversations with my friends where we wouldn't speak to each other because we would be like, oh, who are you voting for? Like, now it's people can't associate with you. They're like, oh, how could you be a MAGA person, or how can you like that guy, and I don't know why it is so hard for people. I personally think it is hard for people because they don't want to believe that everything they're taught or everything they believe to be true. It's like challenging their entire belief system. It's like if you believe in God and you say there is no God, and then people get very angry. Whatever it is. I'm just saying that as an example. I don't know. It just seems like people that I've spoken to here and there, it's like, no, the whole world can't be in on it. No, it can't be that everyone, like the whole government is corrupt. There's no way. And I feel like there is a way, actually. It's been very easy, actually. I mean, look at, Kash Patel just finding documents in burn bags hidden in the FBI building. How is that even a possibility? I feel like we're living in a Jason Bourne movie. It's insane, but it's true.
Well, I think with Kash Patel and finding evidence, I wouldn't be surprised if there were certain FBI agents that were actually protecting that evidence.
I'm sure there were, because there are good people.
Yeah. And I do believe there's a lot more good people than bad people.
Yes.
And I think they were probably hiding it from
the establishment,
making sure that this isn't destroyed.
Well, I think a lot of these whistleblowers, I think they bided their time, and now they're finally feeling like safe enough to come forward. I mean, a few did before, but some was good. So, and I think that these people know that it's the wrong thing, like, and that they were trying to protect it because they're like, okay, the time's coming, and now is the time to talk about it, because I agree with you. I think there are more good people than bad, but I think sometimes people had to go along with the establishment because it was just safer at that point. Because look at it.
I think also Biden, a lot of people were threatened also.
That's what I'm saying. I think Biden's administration, I think that they threatened people for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt.
I think Obama, I think
Hillary.
Biden, Hillary.
Yeah.
I think they were all involved in threatening. And as you can see today, the evidence is coming out that the plan to get Trump was driven by Obama,
yes,
Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
And they're the ones who created the entire Russian collusion hoax.
Okay, do you really think it's an accident that both Obama and Hillary's chefs were murdered or killed or what? I mean, whatever.
I think they were murdered.
It's interesting.
Well, you have to remember, the
saying.
chefs, they're with them all the time. They see what's going on in there. I mean, especially with the Obamas, I'm sure they had certain individuals brought into their home where, again, certain things happen. And of course, if this ever got out,
of course.
So you have to get rid of those people that saw what was going on in the home.
Well, these are the people you're dealing with. They're morally questionable people. These people have no moral compass. And I think that's been the problem. And I think you're right. I think that's why sometimes I think when you saw certain individuals who you thought were going to make a difference, and then you were like, wow, they changed their tune, because I do believe that they were threatened. And I think the one very strong thing about President Trump's presidency now is he has really good people in good positions. And I think that, he's able to make a difference this time because he has a really strong team. Even though they're still fighting this internal stuff and still weeding out the bad people, I think he's in a much stronger position than he was the first time.
I mean, do you see a very big difference between his term from 2016 to 2020 from now when he just got into office?
I think so. I think there's a huge difference. I think personally, just because, and obviously this is probably because I'm married to you and we talk about this stuff all the time, but I think that his first administration, I think he was actually doing a lot behind the scenes and we didn't even realize it. Maybe you did, because I feel like you always seem to study him and understand what he's been doing and the groundwork he was laying. And I think people thought that he wasn't doing much in 2016. I think he was doing a ton, but I think it was behind the scenes paving the way for what's going on now. And I think now, I mean, it's kind of interesting to me because I feel like so many great things have been happening, but then I know people even in the Republican Party are frustrated because they feel like it's not happening fast enough, like the whole Epstein files thing. And I was like, I think that the time is coming for it. I think it will be coming. But if you look at all the positive things he has done since he walked in the door January, just even with the trade deals and the tariffs and getting rid of a lot of these ridiculous executive orders that Biden had in place and just empowering women again and bringing back the Title IX and all of those things, I think there's more good than not. And I feel like everyone was obsessing a little too much about the Epstein files as if he wasn't following through on something. And I think it's coming. I think that it's only been since January. If you think about how much he's accomplished, I mean, as it is, they're trying to hold up some of his appointments. It's not like it's been smooth sailing. Yes, he's in a better position than he was in 2016, but they've still been trying to hold him up. Look at the judges and what they've been trying to do. So I think that he laid very strong groundwork in 2016, and I think that he's doing a phenomenal job. And I think that I think we all have to give him a little bit of grace too. I think Epstein is coming. I just think maybe it's not the time quite yet.
Well, I think Epstein, when you look back in time, the D's never mentioned it. The fake news, they never mentioned it.
Nope.
As soon as he came into office, all of a sudden, everyone was out there mentioning Epstein. We got to get the Epstein. And I think this is what he does. He uses the art of the deal. He creates chaos.
Yes.
And think about it. It's almost like when they were going after him and they kept saying nobody's above the law.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept repeating that. And
over and over.
Well, he wanted them to do this because he knew when he went after them, he would be able to use this against them. Because this way, people can go back in time and say, listen, even Obama said it, nobody's above the law, even the president.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with what's happening with Epstein, I think they tried to push fake information that they created. They knew that the Russian collusion hoax was going to be brought out into the open. They were trying to distract with Epstein. Trump knew it was a trap. So he used it to his advantage, where he had the fake news. He had the D's. He had all these people calling for the Epstein files, because he's going to use this later. Later, when he gets, and he calls it now the credible Epstein files, I think what's going to happen is when that information comes out, he's going to say, well, this is what you wanted, right? Remember, we had the fake news calling for it. We had Adam Schiff calling for it. We had Hillary Clinton calling for it. Everyone wanted the Epstein files.
Yep.
Dick Durbin, Elizabeth Warren, you name it. They were all calling for the Epstein files. So here they are. Oh, wait, it's not the ones you wanted? No, these are the real ones. This is from the grand jury. And if you notice, the Obama appointed judges, one in Florida, one in New York. The one in Florida says, I'm not releasing the grand jury information, which is who's blocking the Epstein information? Oh, it's the judge.
Isn't that an obstruction of justice? But whatever.
Well, again, the judges can do what they want. They can make their case. And of course, later on, we'll find out why they didn't want that out there.
He was probably on Epstein Island, but anyway.
Probably. The one in New York, they asked the Department of Justice for more information. And I do believe what's going to happen is they're probably going to rule like, oh, I got the information. It's not what we want. And it doesn't adhere to what the ruling and whatever, law they're going to use. And they're going to say, we can't release it. And I think what's going to happen is Trump and team, they're going to say, listen, we're trying to get the credible information, but Obama's judges
are blocking.
They're blocking everything. And I think later on they're going to use the continuous repeating of Epstein files. They're going to use it against him, because everyone's going to go back in time and play back every single time these people said the Epstein files must be released. And I think the Epstein list is not the list that they have. They created a different list. I think Trump has known these people for a very long time. He's already thrown out names: Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, and there's many, many other people. I do believe that he has a list, and Ghislaine Maxwell also will probably corroborate a lot of what Trump is saying. So I think there is going to be a list, but it's not going to be the list from what the list that the D's and the deep state players have made up. I think it's going to be a real list of those people that actually visited Epstein Island. I think they're going to use it once people understand who the players are who are treasonous to this country. And it's not just Obama, Hillary, Brennan, Clapper, Susan Rice, Adam Schiff. This goes into the fake news. It goes into the CEOs of corporations. This goes way beyond what everyone really thinks is actually happening with treason. And I think the Russian collusion thing is just the first part of all this.
Well, do you think this is some of the documentation that they were looking for when they raided Mar-a-Lago? Because when you think about, I don't know if it was Epstein, I'm trying to think when that was timeline-wise, or were they just looking for just in general?
No, I think they were looking for the Crossfire Hurricane documents in Mar-a-Lago. This is everything that implicates Obama, Hillary, everything that's coming out now. They thought Trump took it to Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
But I think what he did, he declassified everything, and there was nothing that was in Mar-a-Lago. And they looked for it. They tried to find it. And I think they already knew that because, again, the National Archives, they knew exactly what Trump had. Right. Now, of course, I think they thought he took other things and he was hiding it. But I think they already...
That's because that's what they would do.
Yes.
But anyway.
Yeah, they project what they do onto Trump all the time.
Absolutely. I think they always underestimate him. I think that's one of the most brilliant things about President Trump and where this is all unfolded is I think that, you just see how they try to get him all the time with their nonsense. And I feel like they just can't even do it. I feel like they try to figure him out. And the more they try to figure him out, the worse it gets.
I agree with that. And I think this is just the beginning part of just educating the public on all of this. And I think eventually there's going to be accountability. There's going to be retribution. And I know people want it now. I know people are like, hey, how come we aren't arresting people? But I don't think we have the ability to try these people in a court that follows the rule of law.
No, because look at how many corrupt judges. Look at how they're trying to stop them with the tariffs, and then they were really overstepping their jurisdiction, in my opinion. I mean, actually, not even in my opinion. If you go back and read the Constitution and the different branches of government and what they do, I highly recommend everyone go back and read the actual Constitution, not like what ChatGPT or whatever, but like really get a copy of the Constitution. You can buy it on Amazon and really read it, because we probably haven't all read it since we were in high school. And I think it's so important because there are definite powers within each branch of the government. And, you know, if you look at President Trump and what he's doing, I know everyone wants to say no King Day and the whole, you know, and he's a dictator and this, that. He is actually following the Constitution, and he's upholding our Constitution, and he's following those rules, because that's what we voted for when we voted him into office in November. And I highly recommend everyone read it and read the different branches of government. And I'm telling you right now, the judicial branch, these corrupt judges that are in place, they're out of control with what they think that they are doing right now.
Well, like you said, if he was king, he wouldn't have all these judges stopping him. He would just dictate and say, right, this is what I'm doing. So I really don't need, to hear from you. Since he's following what they're saying and then fighting them on what they're saying and bringing it up to the Supreme Court, that shows you he's actually following the Constitution and he's following the rule of law, showing everyone that he's not a king because he's doing the opposite of what a king would do.
Right. Well, he's going in the founding fathers' footsteps, which they were the ones who were like, we don't want a king. I mean, that was the whole point of the revolution and the Constitution, was we did not want to live under the rule of a king. And President Trump knows this. If you look at the Oval Office now and you see the paintings he has hung in the Oval Office, look at which presidents he put up there, which founding fathers. There's some founding fathers who were also presidents. And it's very interesting to me. And to me, I think he holds that very dear. There's a reason the Declaration of Independence is now, isn't it? The Declaration of Independence
Yes.
he put in the Oval Office. Yes,
Yes.
it's behind a curtain because it can't get, it has to be protected. But he said this has been like locked up somewhere, and he's happy to have it and proud to have it in the Oval Office. And I think it's a reminder about where America started, why America started. And I think that, like I said, I personally think, and I've said this to you many times when I see different things, when I saw him campaigning, that he reminded everyone what it means to be a proud American. Like this woke culture nonsense was trying to make us like hate America, not want to wave our flag proudly, not be proud of our country, not be proud of our Constitution. America is the greatest country in the world. And President Trump is reminding us what that means. And he's also making us live up to those standards again that we started in the first place. And that's why we are the greatest country in the world. And I think we're getting back on that track. And I think that's a good thing.
Well, I find it very interesting that they're saying, he's a king and a dictator, but he has the Declaration of Independence in his office. That was the real war against a king, and that signifies that we didn't want kings. Right. That was the official holiday. Well, now it's official holiday where we say no kings.
Well, I'm telling you when it's no kings. It's called July 4th. That's our no king day, is our Independence Day, because we did not want to be under the rule of a king. So to me, I the fake news can go all day long about whatever about him. I don't believe that to be true. His actions do not match what they say, and they can splice and say things and the headlines and whatever. It's all fake BS.
I agree with that. And I think for closure in this country, because this is why the people voted for Trump, this is why he got the mandate, and this is why we were able to basically override their cheating system in 2024, because the people, they saw the Biden administration, and it wasn't Biden, it was Obama and many, many others in the background that were running the country. They saw how it was destroying the country, and he knew that the people, once they experienced it, once they saw it, we would have enough power to override the rigged election system. And I've said this many, many times before. I do believe that the same people that pushed the Russian collusion, remember, this grand conspiracy has not ended. Mm-hmm. Since 2016, they thought that they had him in 2016.
Yes.
Because what they did was, and I don't know if you remember this, when Hillary Clinton was out there, Nancy Pelosi was out there, Obama was out there. They were all making jokes that he would never, ever be president.
Yep.
Nope, that's never going to happen.
I remember that.
They had their cheating system in place. And remember, Hillary won the popular vote by 3 million.
Yep.
And of course, it's 3 million illegals.
Yep.
3 million that those votes were illegally cast. But they thought they had their cheating system in place, and there was no way in the world that he was going to get enough popular votes to win the election. But they never counted on the Electoral College.
Because again, he follows the Constitution. They don't know about the Constitution because they don't follow it.
Yeah. So that was the I think the second time they tried to overthrow the United States government. The first time, if we go all the way back to 2008, I think that was Obama. I think Obama overthrew the United States government. I still believe, and I think Trump, when he was a citizen, he kept calling out Obama, saying he's not a citizen.
Yep.
Where's your birth certificate? And if you notice, now that Obama is finishing his presidential library, which is the ugliest building I've ever seen.
Oh my God, it's awful.
It looks like a garbage can.
It's terrible.
Yeah. He is the only president in history is where he is not using NARA to basically hold his documents, to protect the documents. He's using a private company to protect his documents. And the question we have to all ask is, why is that unless you're hiding something?
Let me tell you, I remember President Trump, like you said, when he was a private citizen, and he was on The View, no less, which, yes, way back in the day, I admit I watched The View. Now I can barely stomach a clip of The View that I see on Instagram randomly. But at that time, I remember him coming on to The View and asking for Obama's birth certificate. And I remember thinking, yeah, what's the big deal? Just show your birth certificate. If you don't have something to hide, you should have no problem putting forth your birth certificate. To me, he is not a citizen of this country. He never should have been president. And I agree with you. I think that was the start of it all. And here we are, And I think that 2020, I think it was an interesting time. I definitely think that election also had, we both have our thoughts on the 2020 election. And I think that he didn't have as much of the popular vote as he does now. I think he did have some people behind him, but I think that what happened in 2024, I think he really had the people, because I think you're right. I think because we did have the Biden administration, I think that it woke a lot of people up to, wait a minute, this is not where I want to see my future going in terms of how expensive everything was getting and the nonsense that was going on in his administration, and just really having a president that was checked out. I mean, if he was on the beach and stumbling and couldn't find a door and couldn't walk upstairs. And I think that people really started to see that, wait a minute, what's happening here? And I think it woke a lot of people up, which was the positive thing that came out of the 2020 election.
Well, I think with the 2020 election, well, let me just go back a little bit.
Yeah.
During the 2008 election, where we were discussing that he wasn't a citizen.
Yes.
Remember, there was a woman in Hawaii. Her name was Loretta Fuddy. Mm-hmm. She died in a plane crash. The only person that died. And there are videos that shows it looks like there's a diver that comes up and drags her down.
It does. It's scary.
That is unbelievable. So right there, I mean, again, if you look at Hillary, the Clintons, if you look at Obama, chefs, just dying. Mm-hmm. This woman's dying. I do believe they probably put a hit out on these individuals to shut them up. Mm-hmm. So yes, 2008, I do believe that was an overthrow of the government. And I do believe that was the beginning of the insurgency in this country to actually destroy America. Mm-hmm. And then when Trump came along in 2016, they tried to overthrow the government again by using their cheating system. It didn't work. And he used the Electoral College. Fast forward to 2020, at that point in time, like we said in the very, very beginning of the show, Trump, during his first time, put everything into place to protect America and to take full control of America. And he allowed the overthrow of the United States government. And I said this many, many times before on the X22 report, is that the insurrection has to be against a sitting president.
Right.
Biden was not a sitting president. He was not certified. The only president there was at that time was President Trump.
Yes.
So now when people start to see what happened on January 6th, they see that it was Capitol Police. Mm-hmm. It was the FBI. It was confidential human sources. It was the CIA. It was Antifa there. It was all these people that were there to make sure there was an emergency session so there would be no questions about the results of the election because they already used their cheating system. They went way beyond what they used in 2016, and they cheated like we've never seen before. And Trump caught them in the act.
Right.
And then they completed the cheating with the insurrection. And since that time, we've been in an insurrection.
Well, what is it you always say? It's like it's not the crime that gets you, it's the cover-up.
It's the cover-up.
Right.
That's what always gets you.
Right.
And you can see already with the Russian collusion hoax.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that they tried to cover up that's in the Durham annex.
Yeah.
Declassified information. It's now showing that, yes, they were responsible for it. They covered it up. They hid this is all the stuff that was hidden, remember?
Yeah.
They didn't want anyone to see this because if anyone saw it, everyone would realize that they're responsible for all of this.
Right.
So I think in the end, everyone's going to learn that these people, the same people from the beginning of 2008 all the way up to right now, they have never stopped the grand conspiracy of trying to destroy America and go after Trump. And Trump always says, I'm in the way.
Always.
He's really after the people.
How many times has he been impeached and how many times have they gone after him, his family, his children, his wife? It's terrible. It's really outrageous, the stuff that they've tried to get away with. I mean, you even had somebody recently that I can't think of his name now, that idiot guy. And he's like, I'm going to impeach him. And he has his cane. What's that guy's name? I don't know, but you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But anyway, it's neither here nor there. The bottom line is, I feel like when they get threatened by President Trump, what do? We're going to impeach him. And they don't even have grounds. They don't have any real anything. But that's their favorite thing to do, is just like, try to tie him up in nonsense that really doesn't matter. And it's and meanwhile, they're all sitting there freaking out. I mean, you see Pelosi. I mean, I love the Pelosi Act, the whole thing. Did you see how she's freaking out on, I don't want to talk about that now. I'm here to talk about something else.
Well, she's saying that it's not her, it's her husband that's making the trades.
Yeah.
But we always have to look at the spouses. I mean, if it's a man in a political position, they use their wives. If it's a woman in a political position, they use their husbands. So you always look at the spouses because they always make sure that the spouses are the ones laundering the money. It's not them, because when you look at their taxes, it looks clean, it looks perfect.
Yeah, well,
and then you have the spouses.
I'm going to tell you, we could do a whole other episode and we could make a whole little chart, which we should put together, about like the spouses and how they're connected. And it's really fascinating because I kind of went down this rabbit hole one day, but we can get in that at a later date. And it's not just in politics, it's in the mainstream news and this and who they're married to. And it's very interesting. And it's all connected. I'm telling you, it's all connected.
Everything is connected. And I think these people will be brought to justice. I mean, a lot of people are worried about Obama, but you have to remember, Obama, he was president until 2016. And he started the Russian collusion in 2016, a little bit before that. And everyone's saying, well, he can't be charged. Well, first of all, if he does have, we know the Supreme Court made a ruling about presidential immunity. Remember, it only has to deal with presidential acts. So let's say that is a presidential act, and they say it is a presidential act. Can he be brought up on charges on that? No, he has presidential immunity, but again, he was only president until January of 2016. The other thing is, if he does have presidential immunity for that, he can be called into Congress, he could be subpoenaed, and he can't plead the fifth because he has presidential immunity, which means he has to tell the truth. If he lies, he goes to prison. Now, every act after that, as he's a citizen, remember Hillary Clinton was a citizen, Clapper was a citizen, Brennan was a citizen. They're all citizens, which means they all could be charged. Even Obama, because if he orchestrated the overthrow of the United States government in 2020, which I do believe he was involved with, if he orchestrated all the different policies when Biden was in office, he's no longer the president. There's no presidential act right there. And there is no statute of limitations because they're continuing the grand conspiracy. Remember, the fake news and all these people, they never said it was fake, which means it's continuing.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's take it one step further. Okay, say it comes out that he actually could have never been president of the United States because he's not a natural born citizen. Is he ever president? So can't he be tried anyway? Because then you don't get presidential immunity because you should have never even been president. So does that negate everything that he's ever done? In my opinion, I think it would, because he never should have been president of the United States because he was not born of this country.
So let's take it another step. So he was not a citizen. He overthrew the United States government in 2008.
Yeah.
again in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did it twice, actually, if you really think about it.
Yes, he did.
And then in 2020, they overthrew the United States government once again.
Right.
So let's see, 3 times they did this, which means they never should have been president. Biden should have never been president. I call him the resident. Obama should have never been president.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is null and void at this point. And since
Yeah.
he's never president and he lied to the American people, is there really presidential immunity?
Well, to
At
me,
this point?
to me, that's treason because
Well,
you
I think Trump
overthrew
has
the
already-
United States of America. That's
I think
it.
Trump has already said that
Yeah, I
this
think
is
he did.
treasonous.
I think he actually did just say that. Actually, if there was a tweet or something he just wrote. Actually,
I think he was
either
doing
yesterday
a
or
press
today.
conference and he said, this is treason. Everything that they've done here
It
is
is
treason.
treason. Well, Russia is total treason. I mean, and not to even go back to the fact that he, spied on his campaign. I mean, there's so many things. It's just, it is like we've been living in a movie, quite frankly. I mean,
Well,
honestly.
I think it is a movie, and I think we're coming up to the ending of the movie, and I think it's going to be an incredible ending.
I am here for it. I am excited about it because it's been a long time coming.
I think everyone should just enjoy the show.
I agree. Pop your popcorn.
I agree. And I just want to let everyone know that this new show is going to be airing every Saturday, once a week. So you can join us on Rumble Premium. And it will also be on the secure server. For those people that are members of the secure server, you'll also see the show on there. And you can get it on Rumble Premium.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yes, thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.